Fellas, this weekend we have UFC 294, and I'm going to be honest, since the pullouts and the replacements, I've had so many mixed opinions on this card, and it's really difficult for me to predict. And I know the poster said Oliveira, just ignore it, but yeah, we've got a pretty stacked card this weekend. I'm going to be predicting it from the featured fight up until the main event, and I'll also be picking one prelim fight that for me kind of stands out from the rest. But yeah, let me know your predictions down below, and if you agree with these predictions or if I'm just talking waffle. But we're going to go in there with the first fight, which I've just chosen a prelim fight, and I've chosen Mokaev versus Tim Elliott. Now, this is a flyweight bout, and Tim Elliott is 36 years old. 36 years old in the flyweight division is really old, right? And Mokaev is 23. An age difference of 13 years in the flyweight division. Now, that can also go into Tim Elliott's favour. He's got more experience. Mokaev, he seems to be a bit crazy as well. Obviously, the thing that he'd never tapped as well. He seems to be a bit crazy as Mokaev in fights. So it really just depends on if Mokaev's smart enough. But I have him winning. Tim Elliott, I don't think he's going to completely ragdoll Tim Elliott. Obviously, we know that Mokaev is a great grappler. I don't think he's going to absolutely ragdoll Tim Elliott. But if it does get into submissions, I'm going to have to say that Mokaev could submit. And I mean, we've seen multiple occasions that Tim Elliott has been subbed in his UFC career, especially in the past, in the past few years. Obviously, he got submitted by Brandon Royval a couple of years ago. And Mokaev is a submission specialist. Three out of his 4 UFC fights so far have ended in a submission. And the one against Charles Johnson was the only one that didn't. But Charles Johnson was tough for Mokaev, so you've got to give it to Mokaev in this one. And when it comes to the feet, I just think Mokaev's a lot more of a threat on the feet. I think he's more dangerous, but the experience of Tim Elliott is going to play into this factor. And I don't think, especially with the fact that it's a 3-round fight, I don't think Mokaev's going to be able to finish him. So I'm going to go, and by the way, the Charles Johnson fight was actually quite boring as well, the Mokaev fight. Yeah, that was quite boring. It was just Mokaev kind of pinning him against the fence. And Tim Elliott is going to be a lot more, he's going to be able to defend that a lot more than Charles Johnson was. But with that being said, there's so many advantages. Again, Mokaev's undefeated. He's never lost a fight in his life, not even as an amateur. So I think everything going up, I'm going with Mokaev by a pretty comfortable decision in this one. And I think he's going to blow Tim Elliott out the pause. I think he's going to beat Tim Elliott. Anyway, yeah, that's my thought on that fight. We've also got some other good prelims fight. We get to see the debut of Sharaputin. We get to see Nathaniel Wood fight. He's actually really low down on the card. But yeah, Nathaniel Wood's fighting on the card. Yeah, there's some pretty good fights on the prelims. But this one for me, it's kind of like the new versus the old. But yeah, 36 in the flyweight division is really odd for Tim Elliott. It's going to be a fun matchup, but I've got Mokaev winning this. Featured fight of the night, Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev. Now, I've got to go Magomed Ankalaev for this one. I have to. Not that I don't think Johnny Walker has a chance. He definitely has a chance of winning that belt, but I just think stylistically everything favours Magomed Ankalaev here. I mean, first of all, on the feet, Magomed Ankalaev can strike. People get this misconception that he's just a one-dimensional wrestler. He can strike. Obviously, they've both fought INQ Talaba. Magomed Ankalaev knocked him out in the first round twice. He beat Anthony Smith in the feet. He's also been able to hang in the feet with Jan Blachowicz, which I think he should have won that fight. He's questionably should be the champ right now. I think he beat Jan Blachowicz in a close decision. He's also beaten, obviously, Krylov, Uzdemir, Thiago Santos. And then we look at, what's his name, Johnny Walker as well. And he's looked good recently. Obviously, he managed to finish Paul Craig and INQ Talaba. He had to go to a decision with Anthony Smith. But previous to that, he wasn't looking great. He got knocked out in the first round by Jamal Hill, and I'm scared. I'm just really scared that Magomed Ankalaev might be able to clip Johnny Walker and knock him out, because like I said, Magomed Ankalaev can strike. And the real difference is going to be grappling in this fight, because just as he can strike, Magomed Ankalaev can really grapple. We saw that in the Jan Blachowicz fight. Magomed Ankalaev will not be afraid to grapple him and keep him and do whatever he wants to him on the ground. Johnny Walker, I'm not saying is the easiest person to grapple. We saw INQ Talaba try and grapple him and he got submitted, but I just feel like Magomed Ankalaev's got what it takes to mix it up, and the fact that he's got more ways to win, I'm going with Magomed Ankalaev for this fight. Unless Johnny Walker's able to keep it on the feet and outstrike him. But that's a lot to say against Magomed Ankalaev. It is only a 3-round fight, so Ankalaev doesn't have as much time. But from what I've seen in the opponents that's faced, like I said, we've got Johnny Walker getting slept by Jamal Hill. And Magomed Ankalaev, maybe he's not as big of a threat as Jamal Hill is on the feet. But the fact that he's got the takedown threat as well, and he can also bang on the feet, I've got Magomed Ankalaev winning this one by decision. I don't think he's going to submit Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker's actually got some decent submission defense. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wise, he's actually pretty good as Johnny Walker, and we never really see Magomed Ankalaev submitting opponents. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind of lacks. He's a great wrestler, but his BJJ isn't really there. But I'm going Magomed Ankalaev by decision. I think he'll get it done within 3 rounds. And Johnny Walker, like I said, he's been looking good recently. He was on a bit of a losing streak. Obviously, he'd lost to Jamal Hill by knockout. He'd lost to Thiago Santos. And then even mutual opponents. We'll look at mutual opponents. Magomed Ankalaev's beaten Krylov. Johnny Walker couldn't. Magomed Ankalaev's beaten Santos. Johnny Walker couldn't. The only mutual opponent they've both beaten recently is Cutelaba and Smith, and Ankalaev was able to beat Anthony Smith quicker. And I know MMA math doesn't really work. I'm just trying to work with what I've got. But yeah, I'm going with Magomed Ankalaev by decision. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think he'll have what it takes to get it done. Co-main event, massive switch up. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, if you've been watching my videos for the past few months, when it was Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa, I actually predicted Paulo Costa to win that. I thought he'd have what it takes. But the more I study Khamzat Chimaev, and the more I look at Kamaru Usman, I think Khamzat Chimaev will TKO him in the later rounds. Now, I think the first round specifically, now, by the way, this isn't a 5-round fight. If it was a 5-round fight, maybe I'd be predicting differently. But I've looked at Kamaru Usman. I've looked at Kamaru Usman, and I thought it's going to be a striking fight. But the first round, I think it's going to be a Kamaru Usman fight. He's been out for a while, but he's on a 10-day notice. He's stuck in there with people on the feet. He slept Masvidal like it was nothing. He absolutely obliterated Burns on the feet when Khamzat Chimaev couldn't. And it's going to be, I mean, when it comes to grappling, I don't think Khamzat Chimaev, and he's a fast starter as Khamzat Chimaev, but no way is he going to be able to start ragdolling Kamaru Usman. Now, this is a 185 fight for Kamaru Usman, which is out of his weight class, but same for Khamzat. But Khamzat Chimaev, he was kind of getting pieced up by Burns, and Kamaru Usman, he pieced up Burns himself. And I know I don't really like to do math in this, but I just feel like it's going to be a fight on the feet. And early on in the fight, I do favour Kamaru Usman for this. The grappling's going to cancel each other out, and it's going to be a pure striking match. And I think Kamaru Usman will drop him, because Khamzat Chimaev is very fidgety as a striker. He's got happy feet, and I feel like Kamaru Usman's going to be able to clip him. But in the later rounds, obviously we've seen that Kamaru Usman is first of all, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, 1 by knockout. He's only on a 10-day notice. He hasn't won a fight since 2021. His knees are terrible. I think in the later rounds, we're going to see Khamzat Chimaev do a little bit better. He's going to start tagging Usman on the feet. And you've got to remember, Usman was getting tagged by Covington. And if he's getting tagged by Covington, Khamzat Chimaev has a lot more power than Covington. And I think he'll be able to take down Kamaru Usman, even though Usman's got the best takedown defense in the UFC. And I think it's just going to be a ground and pound onslaught in the late of the second round and the third round. And I think it's just going to be Khamzat Chimaev taking him down and mixing up with the striking. And Kamaru Usman, again, it's on 10 days notice. He's not in peak. He's old. His knees are terrible. And I think Khamzat Chimaev, being the young, hungry prospect that he is, I think he's going to be able to get a TKO victory over Kamaru Usman. If not, it will be a decision. But I really do think it will be a TKO, and I really do think he'll be able to stop him. But this is a fun fight. Yeah, really fun fight, this one. I can't wait for this one. This is way better than Paulo Costa versus Khamzat as well. Main event, Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2. Now, again, if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that I even said it in a couple videos ago, if these two were to rematch, I favour Volkanovski. But the fact that it's happened under this circumstance, 10 days notice, Volkanovski's fat, I don't even know if he's been training, and the fact that he's got really bad hand surgery, I've got to go Islam Makhachev for this one. I've got to go Islam Makhachev. I think it's going to be very similar to the first fight. The only difference is it's going to be more dominant from Islam and less dominant from Alexander Volkanovski, and it's going to be a clear Islam win. Volkanovski, I mean, he's got some balls on him to fight on this short notice, but I think it was a bit of a mistake. I genuinely think it was a mistake, and to be fair, I'm glad we saw this and we didn't see Gamrot, because although Gamrot might have been, a pretty stylistically difficult fight for Makhachev, I would much rather see this. Maybe Volkanovski gets it done. Maybe he's doing something, maybe he's hiding something none of us have a clue about, and he goes out there and sparks Islam, but Islam's been improving quicker. Volkanovski, when was he expected to fight? Was it January? That's ages away. He's fighting the champion that he's only lost in the UFC on 10 days notice after coming off an arm injury. So his hand's going to be compromised, his striking's going to be compromised. It's not going to be total domination by Islam Makhachev, because again, this is Alexander Volkanovski we're talking about, and if Volkanovski knew that he was going to get dominated, he wouldn't accept the fight. But yeah, I've got to go Islam for this one. It's the only logical pick. If they had a full camp and they were both very prepared, I'd probably favour Volkanovski. But the fact that it's on 10 days notice under this circumstance, I'm going Islam. I think he's just going to out-grapple Volkanovski and walk him down. Not dominate, but walk him down. But yeah, those are my predictions for UFC 294. Let me know your predictions down below and if you agreed with any of these. But yeah, thank you for watching.